Please welcome to the stage Dr. Jonathan Cox, Vice President of the Center for Policy Analysis and Research at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation.
Greetings. All right, good afternoon. How y'all doing? Very good. I'm glad to see all these beautiful black faces in the place on this last day of official sessions for the annual legislative conference. As was said, my name is Dr. Jonathan Cox, and I'm the Vice President for our Center for Policy Analysis and Research at the Foundation. I'm honored to have all of you here today and very excited for the session that is taking place today. And so as all of you know, each September, the CBCF convenes the annual legislative conference as a critical space for dialogue and action around issues that matter most to black communities across the country and across the globe. ALC is the largest and most impactful gathering, the biggest policy convening that happens in the nation that is related specifically to issues that are important for black communities, right? So this is a sacred space, right? We have been doing this for 54 years, y'all. This is an amazing thing. Now, in the Center for Policy Analysis and Research, what we do is produce research and data to ensure that the vision and mission of the foundation is realized. And part of our mission is to educate the public and develop leaders and provide actionable insights to help improve social, political, and the economic lives of black people and across the nation. Now, this session is really going to highlight all of that in practice. You're going to hear from leaders, black mayors, a ton of 5-6 black mayors that we're going to have here, right, in this particular session, which is just a spectacular thing to think about, right? When we think about the history of this country and where we've had black leadership and the availability to do that. And so I'm incredibly honored to have this here. I'd also like to take this time to thank our session sponsor, the Southern Poverty Law Center. SPLC has been a stalwart catalyst for racial justice in the South and beyond for more than 50 years. And is a strong partner of the foundations. So we're honored to continue this great work with you all. And now, so that we can go ahead and get started, it is my honor to introduce to you all our moderator for the day, somebody who really needs no introduction. She's an award-winning host, social justice advocate, lawyer, commentator, and self-described empowermateur, and she embodies what it means to be a bringer of truth. She served in the past as the executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, so she truly is family to the CBC and the foundation. And so please join me in giving a warm, loud welcome to Angela Rye.
Good afternoon. Oh, hold on. It's not on. Hold on. Oh, it's on now. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. We are going to do a fireside chat and then get into our panel. I didn't work for the CBC Foundation, but it feels like it, Jonathan. I worked for the Congressional Black Caucus and still do. They are my forever bosses. And so it's my honor to be a part of one of the closing sessions for this conference. How many of you all are feeling made for this moment? Very good. Very good. We're going to continue that in that same vibe. We want to have conversations with some of our local leaders who are moving forward with courage in this moment, having some conversations about what our path forward looks like collectively. This is a moment of togetherness and unity, most importantly, given how dangerous it is outside. So speaking of that, we are going to have this conversation with Mayor Muriel Bowser, who is the 7th elected mayor of Washington, D.C. She has served her hometown in elected office since 2004 as advisory neighborhood commissioner, member of the D.C. Council, and now mayor since 2015. She is the first African-American woman to be elected to 3 4-year terms as mayor of an American city. Mayor Bowser. Right. Well, good afternoon to you, Mayor.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to D.C.
I want to start someplace you often don't get to start in your press conferences, especially in this moment, with just how are you doing, given everything that's going on?
I'm doing great. I get to lead my hometown. I have the trust of 700,000 Washingtonians. I have a 10-year record of advancement in our city. And I have a distinction among many that I served in Trump 1 and Trump 2. So I go into this experience with experience, and I go into it with the judgment that I need to do what we need to do for our city.
Well, what's so interesting about that is you mentioned the experience of Trump 1 and Trump 2. And I'm willing to bet you, I always do this focus group, the audience is the focus group. How many of you all think that Trump 2 is different than Trump 1? Raise your hands. Okay. So the experience of Trump 1, for most of us, did not prepare us really in earnest for Trump 2. So can you talk to us a little bit about what the distinctions are you're seeing?
Well, what the biggest distinction is, quite frankly, and that's what I know the CBC is focused on, is the role of the Congress in being a check on the executive. In the first Trump administration, for at least half of it, we had a strong check on the administration. We also saw the judiciary doing the job that it needed to do. Now we see a unified government and a very, very powerful executive who, because of Trump 1, knows how to move differently in Trump 2.
So I guess my question now is, you know, they have those memes on social where it's like, how it was, how it's going, right? So how it was is the Trump administration said they were going to take over D.C. There's a D.C. takeover, and they had a number of things that they planned to do. And in a lot of ways, folks saw you kind of saying, okay, I'm going to go along with this. We're going to ride this thing out. D.C. has a budget that they need to get passed. Your role as a mayor in this city or district is different than many of our city mayors who we'll hear from shortly. When you think about how it was versus how it's going, which is now we are 13 to 14 bills deep in the House of Representatives of folks trying to take over D.C. even more. Do you think it was the right thing to do to say, you know what, I'm not going to push back. I'm going to try to work with this administration to see what we need to do, or do you think you should have come out a little more forcefully?
I think there are a lot of misnomers in what you just said. First of all, takeover. The Home Rule Charter, I hate to always give a primer on D.C., but I guess I will, is that we are different. We're unique in the American system. We're not a city or a state. We don't have members of Congress that have a vote, and we have no senators. And our law actually allows the President of the United States to declare an emergency and compel the mayor to provide police services. There's no other mayor, no other governor who lives in that space in the American system. More than that, our Home Rule Charter gives the Congress plenary authority over the city. So when you talk about bills in front of the Congress, the Constitution gives the Congress the right to really approve our budgets and all of our laws. And so when we go into this situation with a president that has declared he wants to take us over, he can't really, only the Congress can do that. But he's willing to use every lever of power to do exactly that. So if you ask me, do I think I have the right approach? The answer is absolutely, we have the right approach because I'm the mayor and the council is the council. And until we get a different president and a Congress that will check him, we're going to fight every day for me to be the mayor and for the council to be the council.
For the 14 bills, though, that were introduced in the House, so this is not a misnomer. This is actually what happened. They introduced the 14 bills. These bills reach more into D.C. government. It ensures the president has even more authority. The executive branch has even more authority, that Congress has even more authority. Do you think that there is a different type of fight that should be mounted by you, your administration, D.C. residents, to ensure that that takeover doesn't become permanent? Because that, in fact, would be a takeover.
Well, again, it's not a takeover.
That would be a takeover.
Well, the 14 bills aren't actually a takeover either, but they are an untenable encroachment on home rule.
Including charging 14-year-olds.
Including charging 14-year-olds as adults. And only the Congress can do that, not the president, only the Congress. So is it a different fight? It is a different fight, and it's in the Congress. And Democrats can stop it. That's a huge difference because it can get through the House, but it takes 60 senators to get it through the Senate. And we think we can hold the line. I said, I think we can hold the line because we have to make sure that all Democrats in the Senate band together to fight that, not only for DC, but it would become a model for a national piece of crime legislation. So we need the Democrats to hold together. So when you ask, is it a different fight? All Democrats didn't hold together in the House. They didn't. And that doesn't necessarily surprise me when we're talking about a national crime fight and we're talking about a battle for the House. So I think we all have to be strategic to make sure that we in cities, us in our city, are giving our national Democrats what they need to fight for us.
So it sounds like you're saying I'm mounting the right fight. I know my administration is mounting the right fight. I didn't hear you say anything yet about DC residents, what other folks can do throughout the country. This conference is about meeting the moment.
Absolutely.
Being made for this moment, rather.
Yep.
What if it's on just the Democrats in the House and Senate? It sounds like that's where you're pointing the fight to. These are the folks that are responsible.
Well, right now in the Senate, to stop the 14 bills, and they advanced 4 of the 14. That doesn't mean they can't come behind those with the rest of them. And so we all are fighting in the spaces that we have. Me in DC, the other mayors, the governors, and the members of Congress.
And I guess my question is, what does the fight look like for folks at home? So the reason folks come to this conference is to get some marching orders. You're telling them what the Democrats must do in the Senate. If they're not elected, what is their role at home?
I think the role at home is that we win back the House of Representatives. And I think that we all have to be focused on the midterms and turning out. And for all of you who have voting members of Congress, is especially important. And when we get to the other side of this and the Democrats get in control, we need to make DC the 51st state. And so then we will have our 2 senators.
On this point, because I think it's so important, when you look at our collective Black agendas over the years, DC statehood has always been a part of a Black agenda. From 1972 at the National Black Political Convention in Gary, it was a part of the 61 recommendations that the CBC gave to Richard Nixon. Why do you think this has become such a partisan fight? And in fact, honestly, somewhat of a racial battle.
Oh, I think it's been a partisan fight. Partisan, how's the saying go? We're too Black, we're too liberal, we're too Democratic in DC. For us, it's not about Democrats and Republicans. We're not naive, so we know that's what it's really about because people think that we'll add 2 Democratic senators. We probably will. But I do see the argument changing because for a long time we waged the DC statehood argument about DC. We don't have representation, and it is really ridiculous, right? We're taxpayers. We are full-blooded Americans. We go to war. We have all the responsibilities of statehood and none of the benefits. And we literally look at the Capitol building and don't have a vote. We are the embodiment of taxation without representation. I would call it an accident, but it's a travesty of our democracy, and it has to be righted. And when we get the House, the Senate, and enough people in the Senate who are Democrats, we have to change that. And in fact, I think we have to think about a carve-out to the filibuster rule when it comes to democracy issues, like making DC the 51st state. I say the argument is changing because I think more Americans, now unfortunately, when DC is in the news with presidential overreach or January 6th, people see that we're different. Nobody has any reason to think that DC residents are different than any other Americans, except when they see us and the president attacking us and all of this. You know that I can't call out the National Guard. You know that the president can threaten a takeover of our police department. You know that the Congress can literally steal $1 billion from us, from local money. You know that now. But now what people also realize is if we had 2 more senators, the national agenda would be easier to achieve. It would be easier to ensure that we had Medicaid and Medicare, that we had housing, that we had other protections for an urban agenda that protects all of our cities. So the DC statehood movement is more than about us. It is about an American agenda that we favor.
And my last question for you is, we were in Southeast in Ward 8 on Wednesday. You were there for the press conference to kick off the Foundation's annual legislative conference.
Yep.
This year, deciding to move into community to make sure the residents everywhere in every ward feel the impact of the CBC Foundation gathering.
Well, it's brilliant. Thank you for doing that and choosing.
I'm grateful to the
Thank
foundation.
you to the foundation for choosing Ward 8.
And then after the press conference, we had vendors, farmers, black farmers providing fresh produce to residents. There was a woman who came and said, I just came with this food to get this food voucher because I haven't eaten in 3 days. There were young people who wanted the sneakers from the sneaker giveaway. What do you say to the folks who have been demoralized by what has been essentially an occupation of DC, national police harassing young people, particularly in Ward 7 and Ward 8? What do you say to them and what the path forward looks like in this?
Well, what I say to them is this, that we have a public safety agenda in our city that we have led, that our police department has led, and for the past 2 years, we have driven down violent crime in our city. And I also say to them that the parts of our city that are most impacted by violent crime is in Ward 7 and Ward 8. So all of us have to care about driving down violent crime, and nobody cares about it more than we do. I also say to them that we've worked very hard to get out of this emergency, as we called it, the fake emergency that the president declared, so that it's MPD, not federal police, who are running operations, and that's where we are now. A big problem that's still out there, and it's going to be in cities around America, is ICE, that has been a part of this situation. It's been very menacing, and it has disrupted, I think, the trust that our communities have with our own police. And so that's something that I know that we're all concerned about, and we have to stay there. But in terms of our most vulnerable, I think the biggest fights for our most vulnerable are ahead, and they're economic more than they are related to our public safety issues. In DC, in this region that you're visiting, we're more impacted by DOGE than any place in America. The estimate is that 300,000 black women have been separated from their employment because they're either in the federal sector or they support the federal sector in some way. A lot of them live right here. If this government shuts down, people right here are going to be more impacted than any place else, because they may or may not get paid, and they may or may not get their jobs back. So the big concern I have for that resident that you spoke to is, how do we shift our economy away from the federal government, attract good paying jobs, and keep DC residents working? And that's our focus.
Well, thank you so much. Y'all give it up for Mayor Muriel
Thank you.
Bowser. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We are going to just have a moment to reset, and we are also bringing up a special guest speaker. One moment.
Please welcome back to the stage Dr. Jonathan Cox, Vice President of the Center for Policy Analysis and Research at CBCF.
All right, wasn't that a powerful way to start this session of a fireside chat with the mayor? All right, and so keeping this train moving, it is my great pleasure to invite to the stage a representative of the Southern Poverty Law Center, our sponsor, LaShawn Warren. LaShawn is the Chief Policy Officer for SPLC with a robust background in public policy, legal research, and legislative relations. She is known for her strategic insight in navigating complex political landscape and has a proven track record of managing impactful programs. Please join me in welcoming our friend, LaShawn Warren.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is such a pleasure to see so many people out here. I feel like a warm blanket in the wintertime. I am LaShawn Warren, Chief Policy Officer for the Southern Poverty Law Center. And while most people today know SPLC for our work around hate groups and white supremacists and exposing other forms of extremism, we are first and foremost a civil rights organization. From our inception in 1971, SPLC was designed to ensure that the achievements of the civil rights movement led to tangible and transformative change for Black and brown communities. Those communities that were predominantly living in the South. Because true equality doesn't just come from winning rights, it comes from guaranteeing that those rights are enforced. We are thrilled to be sponsors of today's panel, especially at a time when strong local leadership is often all that stands between the rights and safety of Black and brown communities. I want to thank the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, specifically Nicole Austin Hillary and Dr. Jonathan Cox, for providing the space to engage local leaders in this important and urgent conversation. Every day, mayors, local officials, they all anticipate and respond to the needs of their constituents. Their jobs are now all the more difficult as certain state leaders try to hamstring or deny their power, particularly in minority districts. They are all the more important because they handle very difficult situations, particularly at a time when the federal government is stripping away millions of dollars in funding for essential services like schools, housing, food programs, disaster response, hate crime preventions. This is just an incredibly important time, and we are so fortunate to have the kind of leaders that you see before you today. We are fortunate to have municipal leaders joining us who are examples of what it looks like to meet this moment with courage and resolve. They are showing us that progress, that justice, that equity, that our collective flourishing can continue to be possible even in a hostile climate. In just a moment, you'll hear from each of them about how they're driving meaningful change using all kinds of innovative tactics and engaging communities with steadfast and determined leadership. All of us today here know that action can be transformative in building momentum for national progress. That city halls can be a powerful catalyst for change across the country, and that thoughtful, evidence-based policy can strengthen the social and economic fabric of our multiracial democracy. Yet there is no denying that the challenges we face to meeting the needs of our communities is steep. In his book, Across That Bridge, A Vision for Change and Future in America, Congressman John Lewis wrote, "But we must accept one central truth and responsibility as participants of this democracy. Freedom is not a state, it is an act. It is not some enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is the continuous action we all must take, and each generation must do their part to create an even more fair and just society. And I will add that freedom is the continuous, innovative action that must be taken across generations at every level of government to build a freer, fairer, and more equitable society." We are grateful to have leaders like the ones you will hear from shortly with us today who are doing just that. And with that, I will turn it over to Angela Rye to get the conversation started. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, y'all, part two. Next up, we have some wonderful mayors, and I want to shout out the African American Mayors Association also for their partnership. Let's give it up for the African American Mayors Association. First up, we have Andre Dickens. He's the 61st mayor of Atlanta, bringing a lifelong commitment to the city and a dynamic vision to drive its progress as a global city of opportunity. A native Atlantan and product of Atlanta Public Schools, Mayor Dickens is focusing on expanding opportunities, equity, and prosperity for our residents. You may have your seat, sir. I think that's the last time I'm gonna do that. Y'all please Google these folks because I wanna get into this discussion, okay? Everybody's not, Brandon Scott is like, please don't do that, okay. Congresswoman, my forever Congresswoman, and also now Mayor of Oakland, California. Yes. The legendary Barbara Lee. They tried to take her out, but they ran up on the wrong one. All right. And next up is my good brother and friend. He is the 52nd mayor of Baltimore, Brandon Scott. Brandon said, how you like this DEI, right? Okay. Next up, we have the president of the African American Mayors Association, also the 67th mayor of Savannah, Georgia, the Honorable Dr. Van R. Johnson II. And last but certainly not least is my good brother and friend. He is the 57th mayor of Chi-Town, Chicago, Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson. Woo! All right, Brandon. All right, Brandon. Okay. All right. So let me just do this. Let me do this really quick because I'm gonna say it one time. This is a family conversation. It's a respectful conversation, and this is the only time I'm gonna say that. I love y'all with the love of the Lord. I'm saying it one time. Okay? I want to do one other thing because I got the mic. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and there is an attorney general in the state of Washington who has been bringing the fire to this administration. He's been challenging them with lawsuits. He is not on the panel today, but I made him come in here, and that is Attorney General Nick Brown. Please stand and wave, friend. Please give it up for Nick Brown. That's a Morehouse man. You know what they say about Morehouse men. Okay, maybe y'all don't know, but look it up too, because I don't have time. I got to get into this conversation. All right, well, we're so grateful for you all being here. This feels like a little bit of a family reunion. I want to ask y'all how you feel like we're doing in the fight. If you could grade us as Black America right now, like take a step out of your cities and really think about how we are collectively meeting this moment. Again, this convention's theme is made for this moment. If you could just give us a grade right now, how do you all think we're doing as a collective? Andre, I'm gonna start with you.
Well, first of all, thank you, CBC.
See how you can't follow directions? Just grade it.
Just grade it.
And then I'll come back to you.
Hey, you don't give no warm up. They just be like, you just graded us.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna give us a B+, and the reason why is because to still be standing after all these attacks and not lose our collective mind, that takes some spirit, that takes some special sauce, that takes some love, and it takes some hope that we believe that we will get through this. So I'm gonna give us a B+.
I love it. Ms. Lee?
Yeah, I'm gonna give us an A- because we're still standing and we're fighting. And the minus is because we still have to vote more and more often and more frequently and vote for candidates who are going to make sure that the issues of freedom and justice and equity, of course, and reparations are part of our overall agenda. So A- for us.
Of course, it's me. I'm gonna give us a C. I think at the local level, we get an A++.
You're not biased or anything.
Well, the truth is in the pudding. But I think that when you think about it above the local level, when you think about what's happening, the attack that is happening on blackness in this country, we know that, and I hear this from my brother and sister mayors, and I'll say it because they don't, the support is still not there, especially from the national apparatus of what is going on. Folks should be climbing over every mayor. How can I support you? How can I lift you up? What can we do in your city? How can we help your people? And that's not happening. And I'm not just talking about elected officials. I'm talking about black business community, the church, amen. Everybody has to do better, so we get a C from me.
I'll give us a B. We got to be better. We got to be stronger. We have to be more intentional about everything we're doing.
Yeah, I'm going to give it incomplete. So as
That's the teacher right there on the panel.
No!
That's the teacher.
He was like, y'all did not understand the assignment.
because here's the assignment. The assignment is to finally bury white supremacy and build black.
Hey, there we go.
So there's still more work to be done, but thank God we're all still in the classroom.
I love that. So the thing that I will say to you in this moment, Mayor Brandon Johnson, is for a lot of our folks all over the country, you have shown up in a way that's been very courageous. When you were like, they gonna roll out, you were like, they gonna bring ice, I got ice trucks, right? Like, it's and in so many ways, when we're feeling like we don't know what tools we have anymore to fight, you're finding the tools. You like, if I ain't got a stapler, I'm gonna throw the staple box. Like, you are finding the things. And so I wanna know, what does it look like for mayors in this moment to see, like, what tools do we have left at our disposal when we don't have federal protections, and now we're the front lines to protect our citizens? How are you strategizing to come up with the tools needed to prevent these kinds of takeovers from the federal government?
Excellent question. Just two quick things. One, I just want to lift up the fact that the very places that are under attack are all spaces that are led by black leaders. So we just got to name it. I know we know that, but I want to say it out loud, that it's very intentional, because there is an extremism in this country that has not accepted the results of the Civil War. They have not accepted the results. And they are fully engaged in their rematch. So we just got to know what we're fighting against. And so with that being said, we draw hope and inspiration from the largest act of dissidence in this country is when our ancestors led the largest strike in the history of this country, when slaves decided to put down the tools that white supremacy was using to build this so-called democracy. We clear? In terms of what we use every single tool that's available to us. Here's what we do know. We know that we have to use the legislative and the executive authority that we all possess. That's why when Donald Trump puts forth these jacked up illegal executive orders, I put my executive orders up to protect our right to protest in this country, to be able to peacefully assemble. We make sure that our police department and every single sister agency, through my executive order, ensures that the residents of our city know their rights. And then finally, we have to use organizing and the legal strategy. Because my question is this: as much as this president is working overtime to cut off medicine, food, education, transportation, and housing, all of these cities up here, we fund the federal government. We get less back from the federal government than the tax dollars that we actually send to the federal government. And so it's a matter of using all of these strategies to ensure that we're protecting our people.
Mayor Van Johnson, since our resident teacher on the panel brought up the Civil War, we know on the other side of the Civil War, something very significant happened in Savannah. 19 ministers met to talk about what freedom would look like for us. And on the other side of that convening, had to answer a question from the Secretary of War, General Sherman. Of course, that's how we get to 40 acres and a mule. Right. I want to ask you, given the fact that we didn't get our 40 acres, what does progress look like for us? And what is the role of the black mayor in ensuring we actually attain that progress, given the fact that they are trying to roll us back to the Civil War era?
Well, I think the reality is this, is that at the end of the day, we're mayors of everybody. We're mayors of everybody, and we don't have the opportunity to play Democrat, Republican. We have to make sure our cities, we are charged to solve problems, period. And so regardless who's in office, we still have to solve the problem, whether it's our own making or the federal government's making. So for me, for Savannah, I know certainly my brother Andre and up in our capital city, is how do we advance people from where they were to where they can be? How do we create situations where people are able to make their dreams come true? How they're able to have housing, how they're able to have education, how they're able to have health care, many things that we don't necessarily influence. However, we see the effects of it not happening. And so that's been our challenge, and it's also our great opportunity, particularly in this space during this time.
Mayor Brandon Scott, I'm coming to you on the power of Black mayors, which is another part of this panel discussion. You have been challenged. A bridge collapsed, and they came at you about being a DEI mayor. We have watched Black folks be challenged on this, whether they're in labor unions, in classrooms, getting admitted to schools, or being considered for a corporate board position. Where does our power lie as a community, particularly when we rely on the strength of the Black mayor?
I think our power relies in making sure that if you're in a city and you have a Black mayor, that mayor stays Black, and that we have to support those individuals. Yes, you're right, Angela. I am the DEI mayor, the duly elected incumbent mayor of Baltimore City. And if you want to add another one, I definitely earned it, so they can get over it. But I think that we have to understand what that really means, right? Just because we're in a Black city, or if we're in Baltimore, or we're in DC, we're in Savannah, we're in Atlanta, let's be very clear. When you think about the attacks that come, they're still going to come. And in fact, they're going to double and triple down on those things, because let's be honest, they don't think our Black asses should be in the seat in the first place, right? They're going to do everything they can. And Angela, you and I talk about this. For me, for example, they went out and bought a whole newspaper to try to defeat me in re-election. They funded my opponent. They funded all these things on the ballot, and we beat them again, because the power is in the people itself. And when you have representatives and mayors and governors and everyone that are working directly with the people to solve their issues, there is nothing that they can do. They can algorithm you to death. They cannot replace grandma and mama and papa all saying that, oh, remember when Brandon came around here and handled this issue for us, and we had all this crime and now it's going down? There's nothing they can do to stop it. And they might be out here trying to erase us and to erase Black history, but as I always remind them, they too come from Africa, because they come from us. You cannot erase from which you come.
Love it. Mayor Barbara Lee, I want to come to you before I go anywhere else on this point. Before you were a mayor, you were a member of Congress. Before you were a member of Congress, you were a staffer to some legendary folks like Ron Dellums and Shirley Chisholm. I want to talk to you just for a moment about courage and how we find it in this moment. There are so many people who are feeling afraid. And I'm going to tell you one thing I've never seen you is scared. So I want to hear from you on what people can do to tap into their courage, the power of their courage in this moment.
Well, Angie, you know, the theme of this weekend, we were made for this moment. That's about courage. And Black people, we've always had courage. And I think that in this moment, you know, the bird Sankofa looking backwards with an egg in her mouth in order to learn from our past, to understand what we know, and to take that egg and the bird and move forward. Well, that's what we do. And so here in this moment, we know what resistance is, we know what fight is, and we know how to make a way out of no way. And let me tell you, Oakland, California, 21% African Americans. We have a Black mayor, we have a Black city manager, we have a Black police chief, we have a Black head of the Department of Violence Prevention, we have a Black person who heads up ceasefire. Now, you're going to tell me that we're going to be afraid of what we're dealing with here? We know good and well that we have the tools, and our people need to understand that we're with them, the power of the people. I come from the history of the Black Panther Party as a community activist, right? We had a 10-point program. People need to see us working for them in cities. That gives people hope. I won in a special election where they thought it would only be 20 to 25% turnout. It was 35%. And that was because we spoke directly to what people's needs and aspirations are. And so we have to stay connected to people because we have to give each other hope. And that is what is extremely important, because when you don't have a vision, you perish. And so if we don't have a vision, if we don't have hope, and I'm a praying woman, of course, I believe that faith without works is dead. So, we pray and we work too, some of us. And I do believe that some of us. And so I
sound like marching orders to me. Y'all need to work a little more.
Yeah, you're right about that. But I think that our spirit and our clarity about who we are as a people and how far we've come, and that we ain't no way tired and we've got more work to do, really keeps us encouraged and keeps us being unafraid of the powers here that be in D.C. Yeah, I was on the floor of the House of Representatives on January 6th. Barely got out of there. I was in the Capitol on 9/11. Barely got out of there. I know the world in which we live. And so fear is something that we don't have the spirit of fear, but the spirit of power. And so we have to remember that as we navigate these treacherous moments. And who else can do that but those who were made for this moment, who have a history of being enslaved and being oppressed and being fighters, though, for freedom and justice. So that's how I keep my hope up, and that's how I keep my courage intact to keep fighting for our people and our country.
And Mayor Andre Dickens, I'm coming to you because we just talked to Ms. Lee about some of the legends she worked for. You, of course, are following in the footsteps of a legend as well. I'm thinking about Maynard Jackson in Atlanta. This is a unique time for Black folks to be concentrating on how we rebuild community, how we rebuild our faith and our hope, how we shed fear. But we also have to be focused on an economic plan, because we're going to be stuck right here. I know there are a lot of people. How many of you all have nonprofits out here? So there's a good number of nonprofit representation. I know the purse strings of funders everywhere are tightening, and we have to be able to fund our own work. The way we do that is economic progress. Atlanta is known for that. Talk to us about the path forward there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the 7th Black mayor in a row in Atlanta. My whole life I've been a Black mayor. My whole life. Maynard Jackson became the first Black mayor of a major city in the South, and he set the tone for economic inclusion. The programs we use today came about because of Maynard Holbrook Jackson. This man, I was born 6 months after he took office as mayor, and we model everything after Maynard. The world's busiest and most efficient airport has Jackson in it, Hartsfield-Jackson.
Don't start.
Well, look, man.
This is supposed to be about unity, people. Come together. It's not the battle of the mayors.
Yeah, we ain't trying to do all that. But what you were doing? No, I just talking about what I'm talking about. But earlier, John Lewis was quoted as well. When I was a city council member, I sat in John Lewis's seat that he left to go to Congress. And so the rich DNA of the city of Atlanta, I'm 7 Black mayors in, and you can't mess this up. You gotta make sure that we have economic inclusion. That minority women-owned business enterprise program is real. It is at 37% of everything we do at a minimum. So you're talking about the world's busiest airport. $1.3 billion in construction is going on right now, which is about $500 million going through minority and women-owned businesses' hands. That produces wealth, jobs, fair wages, etc. This is important work. And so they are threatening that, though. This is a major part of the attack. It's not just because they don't think that we can run it. We've been running it for 50 years. This airport lands 110 million passengers safely and gets to where they need to go. We're doing a heck of a job, right? But when you see somebody doing a heck of a job like that, and you got all this contracting that has to go to minority and women-owned businesses, you'd be like, how can I get that back, claw that back, pull that back, threaten it and say that it's DEI as though it's not quality work, that is not substantive delivery. And we do that in our water department, we do that in our roads, we do that in every form. If we're doing catering this month, it's gonna, some of that is gonna be minority women-owned businesses. It is in our DNA, it is inescapable, and we stand firmly on the principles of economic inclusion.
So now I want to talk to you all collectively, and any one of you all can weigh in here. I think in this moment it also requires unity. And so I want to hear about how the African American Mayors Association convenes you all. How do you all have a kitchen cabinet where you talk about the path forward when you're struggling with the issue in your community? How do you all lean in and rely on one another?
I wanted to say something real quick because Van is our leader of AMA, African American Mayors Association, and so is Phyllis. But we talk all the time, and you.
Oh, don't tell them too much.
Oh, don't tell too much.
Tell it all. Tell it all.
Yeah, oh yeah, we can't. But listen, Brandon and I talk about this. It's hard being a mayor. It's doubly hard being a black mayor, and it's triply hard to be a African American woman mayor.
Lord.
When you see this one and this one, and then you add in Karen Bass and a few others, it's hard being an African-American woman mayor. It's hard being a black man mayor as well. This ain't easy when you're under attack and you still gotta fix a pothole and solve a billion-dollar crisis and challenges. So we don't cry on the phone, but we talk. We lament. As the church, a
lot of choice words get talked.
But we feel unified. Being a part of this cohort really, really matters.
But I think this is important, and I know you're trained to be politicians, but just roll with me for just a moment here. When folks are in their homes, in their schools, in their offices struggling, they also need their board of advisors or folks that they can talk to figure it out. So when you are lamenting, tell us some of the things that you're trying to figure out together. What are some of the things that you all work through together?
Well, I guess me, right?
That's you,
all right.
Van.
Well, I think that we often live at the intersection of white fear and black expectation. It's a very, very unique intersection for us to be at.
I think you got an amen.
I
think you got an amen.
We live at the intersection of white fear that we're doing too much, and black expectation that we're not doing enough. It is a very hard and very lonely place. I pray for these folks, but the fact is when they need us, because it's easier when you know somebody who is going through the same thing. When you mess with one of our mayors, you got a problem from all of us. Because it might be them today, it might be us tomorrow. So I mean, and sometimes you get Martin, and sometimes you get Malcolm. It just depends. It just depends how it goes down. But I think at this time we stand on the shoulders of giants. That's right. And the fact is we're built for a time such as this. And so you see not only black mayors, we have over 500 of them in the country. But we need support from our own folk. Sometimes the hell we catch, I mean, that we're responsible for stuff that we had nothing to do with, but it's my fault. It's raining in Savannah. Van, why is it raining? So I think for us.
Why is it raining, Van? I'm just kidding.
Well, there's a hurricane maybe coming this week. And believe it or not, I'm already getting calls about what you gonna do with the hurricane. I'm gonna be in DC. But
He's just kidding. He's just kidding.
I'm just kidding.
He's joking.
But I think for us we become an ecosystem that depends on each other.
And I'll just add, Angela, you have to understand that it is so important. And we work with everybody on everything. If something as simple as they're looking for a new health commissioner, a new police chief, or something simple like, I just had a mass shooting. What can I learn from you? You went through this before. How can you help me? What are my do's and don'ts? To every single thing. I'll tell you how deep it goes. Before I was having my first child, I went to St. Paul and shadowed Melvin for a few days to see how he was a whole mayor, and had an infant child at the same time, right? It's such a big camaraderie. We have such a big family, and we're there to fight for each other. Yes, most of the time when people are looking for the angry people, it's Brandon and Brandon Associations. That's true. Very much true. All the rest of us like, y'all two got to calm down. Calm down. We ready to fight all the time. I want all the smoke all the time. But I think it's so important that we do it, because it's about lifting each other up. And what I always say to my brother and sister mayors is that I don't want any of them to make any mistake that I made. If I made a mistake and I learned from it, I want them to take it and not make that mistake. Any program that I've created, anything that's been successful, I want them to take it from me and make it better than I ever have been at it, because that's what it's about being a part of a family. That's what it's about when it's talking about being a true leader, and how you help out people, not just in your city, but around the country.
That's so good. Go ahead, Miss Lee.
No, very quickly. I think I'm the newest elected mayor sitting here, and also the first black woman mayor elected in Oakland. And and so the association and these mayors here are my mentors. And a couple of things, though. Our cities don't have a lot of resources, and so therefore, we have to help each other. And I'm able to learn more about crisis management at the local level from our association. Okay, messaging. How do we stay unified, recognizing we all have different constituencies? But what's important, and I have to remind you of what Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley always reminded us of, and reminds us of, who's a phenomenal member of Congress. She said, those closest to the pain should be closest to the power. And these mayors here in our association, they're the closest to the power and to the people. And so we learn from each other. I don't have to jump through so many hoops to learn a response or to learn what is next in terms of this administration. Well, I kind of know their playbook. But it's important also, I hate to say this, but misery does love company sometimes. And when things are very difficult for all of us, we know that we all are having these difficulties together, and we can solve the problems together. And that's what makes myself so grateful for the African American Mayors Association and for my colleagues sitting here.
And let me just add, we've all learned a lot from Mayor Bowser.
Yay!
How to serve, not only with grace and dignity, but strategically. Strategically, I think she said some things that we didn't really hear, because here she is dealing with this storm literally in front of her, but she has to worry about tomorrow. Folks will go out there and fight, and then why did you fight when that hammer drops? So I think for her it was a very narrow road for her to tread, and she did it, and she's doing it. And so we're writing that playbook about how to handle crises based on what she showed us.
You all talked about, just give it up. You all talked about, or Van specifically, you mentioned white fear versus black expectation. And I want to sit there for a moment, because there was this on the stage. You can feel that. And I want to know what you feel is the heavier weight, right? Is it the white fear? Is it the black expectation? And I want to know why. Are you ready, B and B? Go ahead. Okay. The first B. Go ahead, B.
White fear means nothing to me. It never will. So I'll just put that aside for a second. It's really, I think it's the black expectation, right? And I think that we have to think about that, and that's something that we have to talk about and solve as a community. Because for some of us, literally, we're expected to solve in 4 years something that's been happening longer than we've been breathing, right? And think about those kind of things and what that pressure that puts on something, and also that it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic for me, for Brandon, for Andre, for all of my colleagues to think that that's going to happen. And We didn't expect the white man to solve it in 4 years, though, right? They didn't have that same pressure. They were there for 50, 11 years forever. 50, 11 years, and then in 4 years, supposed to make it go away. And I think that's where we have to forget about everyone else's house. Let's get our house in order first for us to understand that the other side has, if we're going to be honest, brainwashed so many of our folks to thinking that these issues can be solved so quickly. Issues that have been around for, in many cases, hundreds of years, right? We have to get back to having real conversations about what progress looks like, how we can accomplish progress, and how we have to be just as committed to our people and our causes as they are to their idiotic causes that they have.
Okay, now hold on. Now I'm gonna push you a little bit here.
You know I like
First
that.
beat. Okay, roll with me for just a second. There are two things that I think y'all are carrying. The first is, especially in 2025, you have a president in the White House who has accomplished almost 70% of his agenda in Project 2025. And it ain't been but 8 months. Well, 9 months now. Almost 9 months. Don't worry about it. I ain't using those. So my question is, if people are watching that progress happen rapidly, and on the other hand, they see when we had our first black president, it was supposed to be post-racial. Racism was dead because Barack Obama, we didn't believe that, but that's what they say, right? Racism is dead because Barack Obama is now in office, and there was a tremendous expectation of him. I know Ms. Lee knows this well, and what we were told in his first 4 years is wait until the second term. He's going to take care of y'all in the second term. He can't do it in the first term because he'll lose all the white support. So there is an expectation for y'all at every level when you get there, because there's somebody that finally is there and understands our struggle. At least it's supposed to. So I think that there's some parts of the expectation that are fair, right?
Right. That is fair. And we've talked about this before. We have to meet things at that same pace. But that reality also has to be put in place about who controls what and who's responsible for what. We can put things in place in the local level, right? For example, this, I said that we were going to reduce gun violence in Baltimore City, homicides by 15% from 1 year to the next. People laughed at me, including a lot of black people. But now Baltimore has the fewest amount of homicides through a September 25th ever on record. We've accomplished that, right? But guess what? That's still not enough for me, and it's still not enough for some people, because what happens, and I think this is a critical part of that, what then happens when it's us, when we accomplish those things, then the goalpost gets moved, right? People are like, well, what about stolen cars with Nissans, and there's a stray cat in my alley, right? And the goalpost is always going to be moved. And the way that they do that is they pump it through our folks via media. Homicides and shootings are the only thing that matter. And then they start to go down, and it's like, oh, we don't even hear about that anymore, right? It's this other issue. And we have to understand that they're always going to move the goalpost for us, right? They're going to move the field if they can. They're going to do anything. If they go to another planet and see us there, they're going to run. But what we have to do is also apply that same pressure to ourselves to push in every way that we can, to make sure this is a two-way street. We want all the love, but we want also the accountability. Tough love is the best kind of love there is, but we have to be measured in those expectations. You can't go to a mayor and say, well, look, I want you guys to fix this issue, and they don't control it, right? That's like someone coming to me in Baltimore and saying, fix the transportation system. I love my governor dearly, but I'll say you need to call the governor. I do not control that. And I think that's what we have to get back to, is teaching people who's responsible for what. And I will end and say that President Obama's tenure is, in my opinion, a huge missed opportunity for Black America. We saw some great things happen over these previous 4 years, things that we have been wanting forever, and then we wet the bed because America did not want to elect a black woman because they're scared of black people.
That's good.
Yeah, all what Mayor Scott indicated is all accurate. I will say that black expectation is something that we actually understand, and that's why the weight is different. White fear is incredibly dangerous, though. Yeah, white fear will have you scaling walls, staging a coup to declare that an election did not exist. Do you all know that our country literally was being infiltrated from within by the former president of the United States of America to disrupt and to dismantle our government as we know it. And now it gets less attention than 9/11. These are incredible acts of evil. Dr. King said that the three evils on the planet, militarism, materialism, and racism, and that we have to do everything in our power to eradicate these evils from the planet, and the people who know them the best are black folks. And so that's why, as Mayor Scott and all of us are indicating, that we do feel that sense of responsibility. Listen, I used to come to the Congressional Black Caucus convention and this conference protesting the position of school privatization against Democrats. I took an arrest in front of the very elevator that is now held for me. I've been on a hunger strike. I was polling at 2.2%, a middle school teacher, the first mayor in a generation that's been elected without any ties to the daily machine. This has never happened. May his soul rest. But Mayor Harold Washington was on the slate of Richard J. Daley when he ran as a state representative. And so black folks' expectations were incredibly high for me because it was the people in this city, particularly the corporate interests, that outspent me 3-1. They said there would be blood in the streets. They said that police officers would quit. They said that we would not be able to manage the crisis that they created. Whether it's police brutality settlements, whether it's the lack of pensions, the fact that all of the public assets were sold off by the daily operation. And then May 15, 2023, black folks said, "Give us free," in the words of Sinkay. And so I'm not mad at our people for having high expectations. I have higher expectations of myself than anybody in this room. And so here's what I'm ultimately getting at, is that in 2 years, we have had the safest summer with the fewest amount of homicides since 1965 in the city of Chicago. But here's where it gets interesting, to Mayor Scott's point. Now that they agree that crime is down, do you know what they say now? Well, how do you feel, though?
That's it.
Do you feel safe? Here's the second thing. This is the point, the last point that I believe Mayor Dickens is getting at. Now, there is a friendly competition. We're real close to being the #1 busiest airport. I'm just saying, and he knows that. That's why he keeps saying it. But check this out. In the city of Chicago, I'll close with this, we have 20% of the world's fresh water. Stay with me. 2 major airports, railroads, one of the largest economies on the planet, and a black man who taught middle school 10 years ago is now in charge of that economy.
That's it.
Yeah.
I wish this was just about my blackness. Because the last I checked, there's been more black mayors before. The reason why white supremacy is afraid of this black mayor in Chicago is because they did not help me get elected, and I owe them nothing.
That's right.
I owe them nothing. I am the freest, in all due respect, I am the freest black man in this country right now.
Okay.
Because, hold on, let me get with this. Because not only did we put forth the largest investment bond in the history of Chicago, over $1 billion to build housing and economic development, not only did we put forth the largest investment using Brandon Scott's interests, we have hired more young people than any other administration. Crime is down. We're building more affordable homes. We are controlling the airports. We control the transportation system. We are moving to build a sustainable community school rule, which these were the hopes and aspirations of our ancestors. After the Civil War, they said housing, we're building 10,000. We said transportation, we're putting hundreds of millions of dollars into it. We said jobs, we're hiring people. We said economic development. And let me just say this last part about the immigrants. If anybody believes that a black man is going to get upset about white supremacy against brown people who have been here for 10,000 years, you will not get that from me. Because in Chicago, we are calling for reparations, and I am not going to be mad at a brown person that wants to find freedom in this city. Because if my freedom is good enough for white people, then my freedom is good enough for brown people across the globe.
Good job, Brandon. Good job, Brandon.
He said USA.
So let me just, first of all, thank you, Brent. I'm going to say this one last time. We have a panel, and it's okay to have an amen corner. It's okay for call and response. But after that, we're the panel. We have the mics. So, to close.
Thought he did that.
Yeah, you thought he did that?
What else are we going to say?
Andre said.
I thought he did that.
He said it's just time to take up an offering.
done.
To close, what I asked on what I asked on the panel from earlier today on voting rights, as we celebrate, of course, or really commemorate, it doesn't feel like much of a celebration this year, but the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, we, of course, are seeing those rights rolled back. But this is so important as we leave today. You all know that folks are leaving here hoping that they can, stand on something, and y'all are our leaders. So as we leave here, please tell us why you're made for this moment. So I'm made for this moment because, and we will be finished. So I'm gonna start with you.
I had other stuff to say, but then Brandon got to.
I took away your welcome and your closing, huh?
Hey. I'm built for this moment because the proof is already in the pudding. Just like these other mayors, Atlanta's homicide rate's down 44%. The city of Atlanta right now has the highest graduation rate in the city of Atlanta's history because of the Year of the Youth. This is an investment in our young people that's never been done before, having all these teenagers making average of $17.50 an hour this summer. This is important work, building 12,000 units of affordable housing and doing it with a black mayor, a black CFO, a black COO, black chief of staff, and you got a AAA credit rating out of that deal as well. So I'm going to ask black folks, we talked about white fear and black expectations, I want us to redouble down on our belief in ourselves. They will tell you that black mayors can't lead. They will show you pictures of black mayors that made mistakes in the past. And they will tell you that they don't believe the homicide rates are down. They don't believe that those affordable housing actually...
You're hiding the bodies. You're hiding the bodies.
Yeah, you're hiding the bodies somewhere. Or that those affordable housing units don't exist. Or those kids... The algorithm will lead you down a dark path of doubt. And it will make your cousin them not show up to vote. Because the algorithm gonna show us juking and doing all kinds of stuff, but it won't show your message that says, go out and vote. You're gonna have a whole apparatus about voting. That's what you always do. But it's gonna be muted because the algorithm's gonna feed us doubt and foolishness over and over and over again. And it won't show that these black mayors then brought down homicides in their cities, that have graduating seniors, that got scholarships, that got small business programs. The algorithm will not show you our truth. And so that's why we have to redouble down our belief in ourselves so that the good work that we're doing shines, so people will invest in that with their vote. And that's what I believe in that we need to be able to do.
Mayor Lee.
What's jigging? You got to define that for the non-AT aliens in the room. No one knows what that is.
Okay.
Ignore them. We're made for this moment because.
Well, first I've got to associate myself, as we do in Congress, with the remarks of my brother from Chicago, Brandon Johnson. Thank you so much. And being made for this moment, first I just have to put this in context. I was mentored by the first black woman elected to Congress, Shirley Chisholm, right? And worked for 11 years for a great statesman, Ron Dellums. Now, having said that, they constantly reminded this country that it's black people in America who are going to save this country and save this democracy and make it live up to its creed of liberty and justice for all. Now, that's the first thing. Secondly, when it comes to the experience that I've had as a state assembly member, state senator, member of Congress, 27 years, an intern for Ron Dellums, this experience is necessary to come to bear right now in the city of Oakland. We have to understand, and again, black people deserve to be treated by their elected officials in a way that encourages them to hold us accountable and to make sure that we deliver. But we also need to make sure, and I have to just say, in my city, our crime rate, our homicide rate has come down 30% also. Our gun violence, we still have, of course, issues, challenges, but we also share the strategy of the Department of Violence Prevention, working with our police officers, working with ceasefire to bring this crime rate down. And it's because of our black mayors who have adopted this same strategy that I understand this very well, because we're doing the work. But what I have to do to make sure that black people understand this and make sure that we are engaged together. And so in this moment, in my city in Oakland, California, it's important for us to engage, for myself to engage with our community so they see me, they hear me, but they give me their feedback on how they want this city to work. And so in this moment where our democracy is being trampled on and dismantled, it's up to us to make sure, and at this moment in our history, that black mayors connect with people, explain what we're doing, talk about civic engagement, why it's important that the power of the people be recognized as the legitimate path to freedom and to justice. And so those of us who've had this experience and understand this big picture about the democracy, our democracy being totally dismantled, we're made for this moment to engage with people and to make sure that people protect that by holding us accountable and by making sure we deliver to make their lives better and to change this country. And that's what this is about, and to change the world. So thank you again, Angela, and thank all of you for being here and for really doing the work, because this next election, okay, it's do or die. And we have to make sure that, oftentimes I think that some people, like this last administration, they won because we didn't vote in certain communities. We somehow elected this man in the White House because of our lack of participation. So just know this is serious, and that we have to get out and organize in between elections so people feel like they have a reason. Our community has to know there is a reason to vote, and that reason is we've got to dismantle white supremacy, and we've got to build a system of justice in our community that is inclusive of black people leading and black people participating in every level of our government. So thank you again.
Hi, Brandon.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for having us. I just want to say thank you to my brother and sister mayors. If you all are looking for leadership in this moment, void of it at the national level, you will find it with mayors. You will find it at the local level. You should press upon those in the highest of the highest office to look to the local level for leadership, because these are the people that are getting the things done. These are the people that are making change, and innovation in this country has always started at the local level. I'm made for this moment because I know who I am. I'm a black man who's a grandson of pig farmers from North Carolina and rural Virginia, the son of union workers and black business owners, a person who is a child of Baltimore City and Park Heights to be in particular. I know my responsibility. I know my assignment. My assignment is to work every single day to tear down the systems and things that were put in place to hold me back as a young man, to hold my neighborhood back and all of those folks who live in those areas, and make sure that I am unafraid to do the right thing, even when it's unpopular and even when it is politically bad for me. That is my job. My job is to do what is right for Baltimore and Baltimoreans, black Baltimoreans in particular. I'm not in this for a long time. I'm in this for a good time, to do the great things to make Baltimore the best Baltimore it can be.
Thank you, Brandon. B&B, the first B in the B&Bs. Go
Well,
ahead, man.
sitting in between the Brandon sandwich, right? I was made for this moment because he knows who he is. I know whose I am. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Went to Brooklyn, came down to the Savannah State University as a 16-year-old to go to college. My father's from Savannah. He knew a segregated Savannah. My grandmother, they rode on the back of buses. They are places they could not go into, or parks they could not walk across. Their son and grandson is now the mayor of that very same city. For me, where crime is also down in Savannah, we also have the third busiest port in the nation. ILA 1414 in the house. So, because of working men and women, when ships come in, they go right back out quickly, fast. For us, we've provided more affordable housing than ever. I understand my assignment as well. It is to leave Savannah better than I found it. I am the 4th black mayor out of 67 of us in a city that founded Georgia, but recognizes that we're historic, but we don't think historically.
That's right. You clocking it, you clocking it, you clocking it. That's good. Come on, second B, B&B, come on.
No, just quickly, so I believe that I'm made or built for this moment because we are collectively made and built for this moment. You know, just for a moment, a couple of weeks ago, I was just thinking, you know, our great someone was on a side of a field, and they took a moment while white supremacy wasn't looking, and they looked across the field, and they believed that one day a room like this would exist.
Right. That's right.
I think about just how powerful that is. Like, y'all know from which we come. And what will the world look like 30 years from now if we could have just a little bit of the mustard seed idea of what our ancestors hoped for? So as we look across the field and, you know, we see a tyrant who believes that the way in which you save black people is through a militarized occupation. Yeah. I reject that. Yeah. That the way you help black people, the only thing that you can do is you can tear down the systems that we built and then somehow try to turn them back over to us as some sort of favor to us. And so I think as long as we are clear that it is our responsibility in this moment, because we are built and made for it, to look across the field and believe that one day that we don't just have to live in an election cycle.
That's right.
We can live in our liberation throughout perpetuity.
Brandon, wait a minute. Let me just help you.
Can't take y'all nowhere.
The second beat is B. That's the wrong fingers. It's here, boo. You doing the wrong.
All right,
What we
don't come
doing?
for my man now.
Okay, so as we close out the annual legislative conference, what I would ask you all to do in the spirit of unity is to contemplate why you're made for this moment. You're made for this moment because what? What does that look like? How will you go forth as a particular member of this community to ensure our collective advancement and liberation? How will you stop being a dissenter? How will you stop being a hater? How will you love on our folks and make sure that we move forward together? How will you use your voice to raise up against what is truly the enemy and not make the enemy these folks who are up here working in courage, fighting every day for our people? We love y'all. God bless you. Go be made for this moment. Thank you so much to this esteemed panel.